And Kevin Miller in the morning, as Maggie just reported, a big step back for the Otter administration. The United States government saying state-based health plans don't pass muster. Idaho's moved to let companies offer health insurance plans that don't meet the Affordable Care Act standards have been deemed illegal. We've been down this road before. We'll talk a little bit more about that as well. Federal authorities have said Idaho's move to let companies offer health insurance plans that don't meet Affordable Care Act is illegal. We'll find out what the response will be from Boise coming up. Brian Maloney joining us from the Media Equalizer. Brian, good morning.
Hey, thanks for having me again.
Well, good to have you with us here at KIDO Talk Radio. I'm sorry that you're still in the east there with that big nor'easter.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was pounded by a couple of those, but, it's just, it is what it is.
Trying to figure out which is the more liberal place. Is it Boston or is it Seattle?
It's a different brand of liberalism. Seattle, I think, is the most extreme liberal city in America today. I think it's worse than San Francisco. I think people aren't watching it as closely as they should, but what comes out of there is mind-boggling to me.
Well, that says something, having lived and worked in both, that Seattle would be the most extreme. Let's get into this. Can the president get a fair shake, considering everything that he does is bad? 90 to 95 to 99% of the coverage is negative. Really, is the Fourth Estate doing anything besides being the active arm of the Democratic Party?
Well, I've got a great example for you. So yesterday, we had Trump announcing the steel tariffs. And so, you would think that the left would be at least less opposed to that, because that's actually a position that's more in line with at least somewhat, I don't know about leftists, but it's something that Democrats were often in favor of in the past. But they're screaming angry about it because he's upsetting our allies or whatever. But the bottom line is, on steel tariffs, it's really the same move against China that Obama made. It's the same move that the European Union has made against Chinese steel dumping. But when Trump does it, it's terrible. So whatever he does, they're against it. It doesn't matter what it is.
Right. Trump is always wrong, and the media is always right. What do you make of this scandal brewing with this lawsuit, 60 Minutes doing this piece on this Stormy lady? You cover the news actively and objectively. Why do they continue to dig into Trump's past, concerning, I guess, a legal matter that has been settled?
Well, I think that it's just about anything possible to tear Trump down. But if you notice, the story doesn't really ever take off very much. I mean, the press pounds it relentlessly. CNN has given up talking about gun control even so they can move over to Stormy, whatever her name is. But it's not really taking off. And I think the reason is, they blew it. They don't have any credibility on this issue. They put forward and defended Bill Clinton for all those years, not just the 8 years of his presidency, but so many years since. And so how much traction do they really hope to get on this issue when, they really have no credibility on it?
Well, it always amazes me with this, again, whatever, if it's not the Russians, it's this, it's that, and the other. Back to your point, I mean, tariffs are a blue dog Democrat issue.
Exactly.
And Trump does everything wrong. And, here you have the steelworkers that should be a natural constituency for the Democrats and the press saying Trump's doing a good thing. And then you have, they could be members of the Republican Chamber of Commerce, bashing him. It's just amazing that we haven't, I guess, Brian, and sorry for being a little convoluted here, but let me get this one out. When we're talking about the role of the media and the President Obama, former President Obama, could do nothing wrong, and Trump is the exact opposite with the press. He can do nothing right. How is that dangerous for our society?
Well, I think though that it's up to the American people to see through this and to realize what's going on. And I think if you're a American who's paying attention at least a little bit, you realize that the media hates Trump, and you can decide accordingly what to think from there. So there's more of an awakening. There's an awareness going on that I think is beneficial to us. People are paying more attention to politics now. We've never been more polarized, and that's dangerous. So we've got a situation today in America where, and this is the issue I think Republicans need to work on this year, and that is that we have these companies in Silicon Valley. They're spying on us through our phones and through our devices, and you talk to a friend about something, and then an ad pops up for it in your feed 5 minutes later. Well, that's a weird coincidence, but it's not. It was listening to your conversation. So, and those are companies controlled by leftists. And who are actively working to undermine Trump and to undermine all the rest of us. So to me, I want the Republicans to shift toward winning issues in November. And I don't see that they're doing that so far. I don't see where their strategy has adapted to some very different times.
Indeed, our great friend Brian Maloney joining us from the Media Equalizer. Brian, when we take a look at the midterms, it's horrible. Of course, we thought that for the election as well. How do you see it playing out, and how do you think it will, the media will cover it?
Well, the evidence so far doesn't support this theory that there's this enormous blue wave coming about in November where Democrats are going to retake everything by storm. And they tried to look at primary results in Texas and elsewhere to show, look, there's a surge in angry Democrats coming out to vote. I kind of thought maybe there would be, but the evidence hasn't borne that out yet. So, and the Democrats need something to run on besides we hate Trump, Trump is awful. You've got to have something more than that, because the bottom line is even people that aren't crazy about Trump, he did deliver tax cuts, and he is trying to look out for the American worker. There's a lot to go here, but the Democrats, what are they promising? More illegal aliens, higher taxes. They're opposed to the very popular tax cuts that just occurred. They've got Nancy Pelosi still running the show, Dianne Feinstein, and got these 80-year-olds. Where is their party's future? And then in California, the extremism we're seeing from the Democratic Party there, which I think damages them nationwide. So I don't think they're in very good shape at all. But I worry that Republican leadership could be a lot stronger than it is. It's the same old people running the show there, and that disappoints me.
What do you make of California?
I think it's breaking off from America in a de facto sense. I'm a native of that state, and I remember, going up there and actually being proud to be from there. Now I'm ashamed of it beyond anything you can imagine, and it's so embarrassing to be from there anymore. It says, you look at the deterring state of it. What makes me sad is that there are millions of people in the Central Valley and other parts of the state, San Diego, the north part of the state, who are still very conservative, very patriotic Americans. So we're going to have to rescue them, carve them out or something. The rest of California, though, the coastal part, it's a lost cause. We've already lost it. I don't know if people realize just how bad it is. I don't think that they do. But I don't know to what extent that is still America. And I think that it's a very strong case to me. I mean, they follow laws however they want to. They ignore federal law at will. The Trump administration goes to try to negotiate with Sacramento to see if they'll comply with the law. That's not how America works. It's not our legal system. That's madness.
What do you make of the Oakland mayor, Governor Moonbeam, really declaring war against the United States government?
Well, that's what it is, and the Oakland mayor absolutely needs to be arrested. And then to have a leading Democratic gubernatorial candidate, Gavin Newsom, who may be their next governor, possibly, we'll see how the primaries go, encouraging other mayors in the state to follow the Oakland mayor's lead and tip off, the illegals as to when the next raids are coming. The feds are going to have to make sure local officials don't know anything about these raids, for one thing. But to encourage other mayors to do the same thing, they need to just start arresting them. We need to crack down on California in this country for the sake of America. We cannot let California get away with this anymore.
Brian Maloney, if people want to be activated, what can they do, sir?
Well, we have our website at MediaEqualizer.com. We have our Facebook group, Stop the Scalping, which we'd love for you to join. Stop the Scalping, our activism group. And we're working on some other issues we're exposing left-wing extremists right now on some particular issues like net neutrality. So I want you to see what we're up to there as well, because we're really trying to nail some leftists one by one right now. That's our latest project.
Well, keep it up and stay hunkered down there in New England.
Thank you so much.
All right, Brian Maloney joining us, Media Equalizer. Phone number's here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. We apologize to Hank. We didn't get to him, but we will take your calls right now. Let's go to Liberty Linda with Kevin Miller at KIDO Talk Radio.
Yes, good morning, Kevin. You know, the biggest majority of real Californians feel their beautiful state has been completely taken over. They are just waiting for someone in Washington, D.C. to throw out those who have taken over their beautiful state and bring that common sense government our founding fathers gave to them. You know, their beautiful state has been taken hostage, and they want it back. You know, we wouldn't want it to happen here in beautiful Idaho. If we allow it to happen in California, look out, Idaho may be next.
Well, you know, you have to wonder what type of future we're going to have here in Idaho. And again, you know, you're going to have the coming conservative revolution May 15th. However, you know, when people aren't even getting hearings, whether you agree with the CBD oils, whether you agree with everything else or not, when the Second Amendment lobby has to pretty much embarrass leadership to get a debate on the floor, and then you have pro-abortion stuff that, you know, sails right through. How conservative, how Republican are we?
I don't know. I agree with Liberal Steve and Tea Party Bob. I don't believe in marijuana. However, if this CBD oil helps the suffering, how can we allow them to go on suffering? If it helps them, I think it should be legalized so that they can feel that they can have it here in Idaho and not have to worry about that. And so those are the 2 points I was making. You know, I know hundreds of people in California that love their state and want it back. And I believe in the oil. If it helps the suffering, they should be able to have it legally. So it's not, they don't feel like it's being done under the counter, as we could call it.
Liberty Linda, thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Love your show.
Love you. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Brenda in Boise. Brenda, good morning.
Good morning, Kevin from heaven. That's my new talk for you.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah. My parents came from East Coast. I'm 56, so we're talking 70 years ago, to West Coast. And then the rest of the family eventually followed. And my father was Air Force, and anyway, he went on design engineer, very successful. We had a great life. They built their little home, extended out. My maternal grandfather was a carpenter and just kept building on as, you know, time went on. And I lived in the same house my whole entire life. And it was just same planet, different worlds. What I want to say is basically that as everything evolves, these things happen and, you know, follow the money. And between my mother's family and so that was 17 siblings, cousins, all of that lived in Southern California, Ventura County. There are 2 left because they're the only ones that have a decent job and they're ready to, you know, flee as well. It's just sad to me. It's just so sad that heritage that we had to flee our, you know, homestead.
You were run out of your home based on, leadership from guys like this.
I'll cooperate, Jeff, if you can get off this current maneuver you're on, because it's unbecoming. It's based on non-truth, and I hope you'll shape up before it's too late. And I'll tell you, this lawsuit, they're talking about going to the Supreme Court. This lawsuit is going to last a lot longer than the Trump administration.
Brenda?
Oh, geriatric Brown. Oh, my goodness. We had so many wonderful opportunities, liberties way back, and it just, encroached day after day. We used to be able to go to the mountains, the ocean, the beaches, everything, and everything then became toll bridges, basically. And eventually it became so bad. I mean, it's the elite and I don't want to be disrespectful, migrant, illegals.
Right.
Illegals came in and they took over the basic everything, and that's what they want.
Well, and there's a great book called Alien Nation by Peter Brimlow that describes the enclaves that have taken over. Brenda, I got to run. Thank you for the call. Dan and Middleton, hang on. Your call's next. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. More of your phone calls. Congressman Labrador will be joining us coming up between now and 8 o'clock. Let's go back to the phones, and we go to Dan in Middleton. Dan, good morning.
Good morning, Kevin. How are you?
Living the dream, brother Dan, and you?
Yeah, I'm doing fabulously fantastic for Friday. But before I start, I would like to say thanks to Ray Amaya. He has been a treasure to the Treasure Valley for, 25 years now? And I remember when he was working with a gentleman on Saturday morning at KIDO, and that's what got me going on talk radio in this valley. And so just thanks, Ray. Last night I was watching the television, and I believe it was Fox News, but I'm not positive. And there was they put up a graphic of a poll that was done by Berkeley State. And I was very surprised, Berkeley State not being the bastion of conservatism we all know it to be. The poll they showed was the percentage of people that were against sanctuary cities in California. And 73% of Hispanics, 63% of Democrats overall, and 75% of the public at large were against sanctuary cities. I thought that was kind of interesting.
Too bad their politicians continue to ignore the will of the people.
Yeah, well, I just thought I'd throw that one out and have a great weekend.
Well, thank you, Dan, for listening to KIDO Talk Radio.
Yep. Bye.
Bye-bye. Traffic and weather together, 26. And Kevin Miller in the morning here as we move along. By the way, we've been rolling so much this morning, the incredible momentum from you on this Friday, that we haven't really gotten to the top international story that we've never seen since, not even during the Korean War.
I explained to President Trump that his leadership and his maximum pressure policy, together with international solidarity, brought us to this juncture.
There we have it. So, in a page out of Pro Wrestling, Kim Jong-un and Donald Trump could possibly meet?
I expressed President Moon Jae-in's personal gratitude for President Trump's leadership.
We will see about that. By the way, I just can't give it up when it comes to California. Nancy Pelosi has been there forever, and she says some outrageous things. And by the way, the reason why I'm saying this is you need to wake up and get rolling today.
That plan is a campaign to make America white again.
What's Nancy Pelosi?
That plan is a campaign to make America white again.
Representative Luis Gutierrez seems to echo her comments.
The racists who are driving immigration policy in the White House doesn't want brown or black or anyone who isn't white in this country.
You're not all right if you're white, apparently.
The Attorney General is trying to distract the American people from a failed immigration system by painting a racist broad brush of our immigrant community as dangerous criminals.
Really? Tell that to the people that have lost their lives because folks have been deported, been criminally charged. Again, when have we decided to devalue Americans based on nationality, ethnicity, and race? Shame on those folks. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Maggie.
Good morning.
Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Joined by the great champion of conservatism in the state of Idaho and across the country, Congressman Raul Labrador. Congressman, good morning.
Good morning, Kevin. How are you?
Not bad. Thank you for joining us today. I know it was a long flight last night, so thank you for waking up with us this morning.
My pleasure. Good to be on your show.
Congressman, what's wrong with state government?
You know, what's wrong with state government right now is that we have a lot of really good people in state government that want to do the right thing, but we've had a governor in the governor's office for a long time that has just not allowed the process to work as well as it should. We saw it last week with this week with the CBD oil debacle, where they decided that they were going to, behind closed doors, decide what the policy for the state's going to be when you have hundreds and hundreds of people, if not thousands, who wanted to testify, who wanted to talk about why they were in favor of that policy. I'm in favor of the policy, and I understand why it's fine if the governor and his staff are against it, but they should have had the hearing. Let the people know why exactly they're opposed to those ideas. I think we have a government in Boise that is decided by 4 or 5 people. All the decisions are made by the cronies, by the people who have access to the governor, who have given money to the governor. That's not the way government is supposed to be. And I think that we need a major change in the way business is done in Boise. We need a major change in the way the governor's office responds to issues. And I'm looking forward to doing that.
Congressman Labrador joining us here at KIDO Talk Radio. It is shocking when you hear the power and the influence that the governor has going back to your days as a state representative before you were elected to Congress. The legislative body is supposed to be strong and independent. And really, this isn't speculation on talk radio. This has been, folks on video saying the governor told us not to bring this up because he's not going to vote for it. No one even giving another whiff at the grocery tax. What happened with the CBD oils? I mean, this is, I guess I'll ask you to put on your political science hat and say, where's the leadership of the legislative body?
Well, that's what's sad, because I love, what people don't understand is that I have a reverence for the legislature. And I think this is something that's going to change, because the governor currently believes that he is the boss of the legislature. And some of the legislators believe that he is their boss. And that's not the way it works. The legislature is an independent branch. The legislature is a branch that decides what the laws of the state of Idaho are going to be. Now, I'm going to work really hard with the legislature, and I want my agenda to get through the legislature. But I'm going to do that by persuasion, by talking to them, by showing them what my ideas are, not by threatening them and by getting my way behind closed doors. I think we just need to work with the legislature to make sure that the will of the people is heard, and also that good ideas are floated forward. I actually believe the governor has good reasons why he's against the CBD oil legislation. I don't agree with them, but he has good reasons for them. So let his staff and the heads of agencies explain what those good reasons are. You have legislators that wanted to have just an open hearing on the issue, and they wouldn't let it happen. And this was all about making sure that the governor was not embarrassed in his last term. And I think that's what's sad, is this shouldn't be about whether a person's embarrassed or whether a person gets his way. This should be about having a good debate about the ideas and policies that the people of the state of Idaho deserve. So I think, the problem in Boise is cronyism. The problem in Boise is the Good Old Boys Network. And that's what you see, that they're scrambling so hard to make sure that I don't win this election. Because they know that the power of cronyism and the influence of the cronies in Boise is going to end. and it's going to end, and everyone's going to be treated the same. People who have good ideas, we're going to work for those good ideas, regardless of whether they were Labrador supporters or not. You know, some of those good ideas may actually come from the Democratic Party, and we'll work on those ideas as well, and we'll make sure that we listen to the ideas of the people, and some of them I will reject. But I think it's time for us to change and clean house and make sure that we don't continue this perpetuation of cronyism in Boise that has happened for the last 12 years.
Well, Congressman, folks here at KIDO Talk Radio are echoing your comments, especially. And again, you've come out in favor of repealing the grocery tax. It was such a powerful issue, has been since your time in the legislature. And no hearing, no this, no that. You've got legislators saying Governor Otter is against it. They won't even get it out of a committee hearing.
You know, and that's sad. Let the governor veto it. I mean, that's the way it should work. That's why the legislative process is so important, and the way our founding fathers wrote the Constitution in such a beautiful way. The legislative branch gets to argue these issues. They get to debate these issues. Then the governor gets to decide whether he or she wants that legislation to go forward. He has the power of the veto. With the power of the veto, he can convince some of his friends to vote against it, against overriding his veto, and he would win that fight. But you do that in the open process. You do it in a way that people know who's representing them, who's not, who's for them, who's against them, and that's the way it's supposed to work. You know what's scaring me a little bit about this is that I loved my 4 years in the state legislature. I loved the way I worked with my leadership, with the other legislators. And when I went to Washington, D.C., I saw a totally different environment where the leadership made every decision, where everything was top down. And I don't want that to happen to the Idaho legislature. I don't want that to happen in Boise. And we need to go back. That our legislature is one of the best legislatures in the entire United States. You have citizen legislators who want to do the right thing and are representing the people. Let them be heard. Let them speak. Let them do the things that they have to do. And if their ideas are good, they're going to thrive. If their ideas are bad, they're not going to thrive.
Congressman Labrador with us at KIDO Talk Radio. Kevin Miller in the morning. When we take a look at the forces being aligned against you, you really believe that these folks fear you getting elected?
Oh, they do. I hear it all the time. I hear about, meetings at the Arid Club, meetings in downtown Boise, where everyone is saying, all those people in Boise who've been in control of what happens in the state of Idaho for so long, they're so worried about me being the governor of Idaho. But the people are excited. We go out into the communities. I go to Walmart. I go to Target, and the people in this, in the line are saying, "Oh, Congressman, we're so excited for you to be governor." So people are excited about it. We're feeling the momentum. We feel the energy. But there's going to be next 2 months are going to be tough because there's going to be lie after lie after lie about me and about my record. And I just know that the good things that the people of Idaho know who I am. They have been following me for the last 8 years, and they know that I mean what I say. That when I tell them I'm going to do something, I'm going to fight for those things, and I'm going to stand for those things. And that's the difference in this race. We actually have 3 good candidates in this race. But the difference is that the people of Idaho know me. They know my integrity, they know what I stand for, and they know that I will follow through in the ideas that I bring forward.
Congressman Labrador, in between keeping up with the president in D.C. and running for governor here, you've been listening to folks. And what are people saying to you concerning education? You and I have talked for years about education, public, private education being the great liberator for our society. You're a product of how education has really, vaunted you to a level of a congressman. I mean, that's incredible. Your thoughts and what are people saying to you about education here in Idaho, sir?
Education made all the difference in my life. As you know, I was raised by a single mom. She always believed that education would be the thing that makes me successful in life, that allows me to to sort of escape the cycle of poverty that we were in. She wanted me to have a better life than she had and better opportunities than she did. And I think that educational experience was so important. What I hear all the time is that they want their kids to have meaningful opportunities. Everyone is worried about their kids not having good jobs, not having good opportunities. And many parents tell me that they have the same fear that I do, that their kids are going to leave the state for higher paying jobs, for better jobs. So what we need to do is make sure that we have an economic plan for the future of Idaho that makes it possible for high-paying jobs to exist in Idaho. Yes, we're the fastest-growing state in the union, and there's no question about that. But the problem is that we're still about 45th. You see different data between 44th and 47th in per capita income. So that's not a good thing. If we're that low in per capita income, that means that our families, our individuals, our Idahoans are not making sufficient money for their families. So we need to grow the economy, grow the jobs, and grow the high-paying jobs in Idaho so the kids can stay in Idaho. The other thing we need to do is we need to look at what we're doing at the high school level. I want every high school kid to either have plenty of credits on their way to getting a college degree, to have some sort of technical training, or to be remediated in the high school. We're graduating kids right now that do not have the skills to succeed in life. And we need to make sure that those 4 years in high school, that we have prepared them for the future, and that every child has a meaningful opportunity after high school.
Well, Congressman, we know you're very busy. We appreciate you making time, and we'll see you on the trail, sir.
Hey, thank you so much. Wonderful to be on the show.
All right, our great friend Congressman Labrador joining us. Your thoughts next on the governor's race here in Idaho with me, Kevin Miller. Good morning, everybody. KIDO Talk Radio. Humbled by that, Sean Hannity. Kevin Miller in the morning here at KIDO Talk Radio. Congressman Labrador joining us. Remember, every morning, complete political coverage of all the contenders with you and me at KIDO Talk Radio. Speaking of perennial contenders, Pro-Life joins us now on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning.
Yeah, I thought Mr. Labrador was going to leave. But anyway, what I wanted to say...
What did you say? You thought he was going to leave?
Yeah, so I wanted to make a comment rather than ask a question.
You wanted your time.
Well, I wanted the people's time. This is the last day for filing, and people need to file. There's two like the Attorney General has no opposition, the Comptroller has no opposition, Mr. Simpson has no opposition that's conservative, just some Democrats, and those South Central people over there like Lee Hyder, they have no opposition. This is a travesty. The Republican conservatives, the third-party people, they're not stepping up. So that's what I wanted to say. Now you can go back to Mr. Labrador.
Well, no, he's gone now, and thank you for giving us permission to interview folks here at KIDO Talk Radio. I appreciate that.
Well,
here's the skinny. Who's going to disrupt Mike Simpson?
Well, it isn't even if you're going to disrupt him. It's if you're going to make him accountable, because he's a rhino conservative. I mean, he's a rhino progressive.
Well, now, pro-life.
Yeah?
You spent a lot of time in East Idaho?
I do.
Okay. I hear that the folks in eastern Idaho are more conservative than us in the Treasure Valley.
That's true.
Okay. We've had people from eastern Idaho radio stations saying, look, we'd like to carry your show. We'd like you to come over. And for a lack of a better thing, it's never happened. And really, as I've said for years, my priority is the Treasure Valley. So how do you explain that the most conservative region of the state continues to elect someone that you've called a rhino? And I would think that people would agree with that statement, that are vote in Republican Party primaries, but Mike Simpson continues to get elected in a highly conservative district.
Well, the reason is because east of Cloverdale, that's the liberal part of Boise Meridian area.
The libs.
Right, and then there's the lib of Sun Valley, Blaine County. Then there's the lib Bannock County, Pocatello. And so you take all of those, and they slightly outbalance the upper Snake River Valley, where the conservatives are.
But he wins going away. It's not even close. Now,
Well,
a lot of that you could say is money and name recognition, but still, if you have a concern, look, what was his name? Eric Cantor lost to an unknown.
Right. Well, they have not had candidates in East Idaho and, in the 2nd District that really would blast Simpson like he needs to be. They're just kind of wimpy guys. Smith was wimpy, and I can't remember my John Birch friend over there, Marvin.
Smith couldn't figure out how to do a phone interview with us. You remember that? He hung up on us all the time.
Well, I don't know. It's still time to file. Somebody needs to file against him. And against Lee Hyder and the Speaker of the House, all of those South Central people, they have no opposition whatsoever, and that's a travesty. That's stupid. And so anyway, we really need to step up to the plate. So I'm going to go file today. And
well, you always file.
Yeah, I always do. And if somebody like myself can run every time at the top of the ballot, then anybody can.
Fair enough. Thank you very much, Pro-Life. Traffic and weather together. Cindy, good morning. You're on with Kevin Miller at KIDO Talk Radio.
Yes, good morning, Kevin. I really want to thank you, and I want to thank you for yesterday. You took a hit by, I won't go into it, one of your sponsors, and you responded. You just kept going, and I'm not going to go into what happened, but I just thought you're just such a man. You're just so grown up. You're just so able to do that, Kevin, and that's why one of the reasons you always give everybody a fair shake here. So thanks for having a Representative Labrador on, and I can just reinforce, another candidate, I'm not going to get into the politics of when people, even in the Republican Party, start to use religion and other things to say why they won't support a candidate. But I will say for me, because I've made hundreds and hundreds of calls for Raul, and why? Because just the person you spoke about, Mr. Simpson, and all these Republicans that jumped ship, that didn't see the vision when our president was running, and were actually saying very, I would say, demeaning, demoralizing things to me, who was out there, and other people trying to rally support for our president, to see who, thinking about the Supreme Court like Raul did, thinking about pro-life, thinking about, legal immigration. And I sit there, not day after day, several times a week making calls because I've seen his son spend 10 minutes with people coming upstairs and I'm making a call and somebody has a question. They want a yes or no answer and I'm not too clear. So to me, he has ethics and morality. Here you go, a born-again, justified Christian, and I don't see that divisive because he chooses to act out his worldview in another a faith. That was never a problem to me. He was so ethical that he was the only one that not only campaigned but supported this president, and that made the whole world to me. You can't, it's hard to start a campaign, I would see, to jump into a race now. But I have heard, many things, and I've talking to about the people of Idaho, and it's just been an experience for me, and I'm just going for the win. That's how I sign in, going for the win, because I believe he's ethical, moral, and cares about people like me and how we want to see constitutionally this state run.
Cindy, great call. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio.